Welcome to With One Accord, a brief time presented by the Houston Chamber Choir each Monday and Friday to join us together and to be renewed and refreshed through the power of choral music. I'm April Harris, Manager of Operations, and I'm thrilled to host today's Education Spotlight. Today's episode shines the spotlight on Greg Fernandes, Assistant Conductor for Boston Children's Chorus and President of the Rose Conservatory. The epitome of a child prodigy, Greg's gifted talents in vocal and instrumental music were discovered and fostered at an early age of 3 years old. As he grew older, he made tough choices, as we all do, which cost him severely. But he never let go of the one thing that always helped him find his way back to purpose: music. In his recent book, Excuse Limit Zero, Greg bravely details the uncensored story of how he turned around his early troubled life by owning his mistakes, and how he learned to move past regret to discover his role as a mentor, high school choral director, and classically trained musician who has traveled the world sharing his gift. Greg's transparency is something that redefines and strengthens what it means to be a role model, and opens the door for so many young people who have similar stories, but few opportunities for redemption. In a time where our lives have pivoted dramatically due to the pandemic, Greg has approached the current hardships that our community youth are facing head-on and created spaces for positive learning, where all can enjoy open communication and the exploration of creativity in a safe environment. He is currently embarking on a new project, the opening of a music education and mentorship conservatory in his hometown of Brockton, Massachusetts, dedicated and named after his mother, the most motivating and instrumental music educator in his life. It was an absolute joy speaking with and learning from Greg, and during our brief talk, he left me with the validation in the message that it is never too late to restart your journey back to triumph and success. I'm joined today by a very, very special, wonderful guest, an individual of many talents, musician, choral educator, conductor, mentor, motivational speaker, to name a few things. Mr. Greg Fernandes, hailing from Boston, Massachusetts. Greg, thank you so much for talking with me today. How are you?
It's my pleasure to be here with you. I am well. I'm hoping you are doing well with everything that's going on there. So just glad that you're safe and things are going good for you. But yes, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Greg. Now, I love to start things out by discussing my interviewee's background. And your personal story in particular is very profound, and it's an important one to share. So I was wondering if you could just start by answering the simple question, who is Greg Fernandes?
Who is Greg Fernandes? In very simple terms, I am a black man in America trying to make it like everyone else. Music has always been sort of my muse. Um, I was raised in an upper middle class neighborhood by parents who really fawned over me and did everything they could to secure a promising future for me. Feeling lost between cultures in high school, I found myself drifting to the wrong crowd. I lived that sort of tough gangster life, breaking the law by day. But then I would go home and practice handle on my violin at night. And so when doing the wrong things and hanging out with the wrong crowd got me kicked out of my beloved music program in high school, my life really started to spiral down. And it was dark, it was lonely. And in my book, I really do tell the uncensored story of how I sort of turned my early troubled life around by owning my mistakes, and how I learned to move past any regret, to discover my role as a mentor, a music educator, and learn to move, or really, well, let me just add, a classically trained musician who has now committed my life to sharing my gift with young people that look like me, talk like me, and will experience similar situations. And that's really the entire essence of my main project right now, the Rose Conservatory. But if I had to put it in very simple terms, I am a black man using my skills and my gifts to help others.
Absolutely beautiful. Now,
You say that music has been a real integral part of your life and your development, in helping you to craft your redemption song. What role did, in particular, choral music performance and education play in your personal development?
I mean, I have been singing in the church as far back as I can remember. My mother was a music teacher for many, many years. And she was always the choral director, the choir director, the music director at every single church we went to. There were days we went to 3 services in one day because she had to play all over the place. So I sang in choirs. I was a cantor in my church forever. And so singing has just been something that's always brought a lot of joy to me. I grew up in predominantly white churches and sang lots of sacred music and really honed my skills and got that feel of what a true choir feels like. And I just really ran with that. I also played violin since the age of 3. And so music was really just part of my life forever. My mom really had a goal in mind for me. Um, and I always tell people that I'm, the only child who really stuck with the music, like mom, and I really take that very seriously. And I take it as my job to just keep her legacy going, because she was just a great human. And she passed about 10 years ago, and we're still hearing from her students of how she affected their lives, and I just want to really do the same.
Amazing. And I know you are absolutely making her the proudest individual ever. It's truly amazing how you've taken such difficult situations and experiences and created something so positive and motivating to the youth of our communities. Now, did you always know that you wanted to be an educator, to teach?
I did. I knew from a very, very young age that I wanted to be a music teacher. I tell people, my mom was my Batman, my Superman, my my superhero. I always wanted to be like her, and that's a very fortunate thing for me. I think a lot of children experience, their parents will have a dream for them, and it doesn't always match up with the dream of the child. And I was very fortunate that our dreams for me matched up. However, with that said, I didn't really take the steps necessary in the early years of my life to do that. I wanted to do it, but I just didn't really grab hold and take control of my life and make it happen until much later. But here we are.
Here we are. And you mentioned your book, Excuse Limit Zero, where you go into further detail about the earlier struggles and your path to self-identity and just sharing your experience. Now, that's something that I consider something that takes extreme courage to be able to share, to be able to look within yourself, see your flaws, and take those flaws and say, hey, here I am. This is how I want to better the world. This is how I want change, and I want to help others change. Um, can you explain a little bit about the title, Excuse Limit Zero, and what that title means in relation to your story?
Well, when I was a classroom teacher, I had a sign that hung in my classroom that said, Excuse Limit Zero. And I used to point to it when my students would complain about an exercise or a piece of music that we were working on being too hard, or they'd leave their instrument at home, or they'd give me excuses why they couldn't practice. Or they'd come in talking about how they were ready to give up on themselves, in music or in life. So for me, Excuse Limit Zero really does represent everything, all the ecstatic joy in my life, all the experienced sadness I've experienced, and the mindset that really allowed me to get through it all. That's why a simple phrase on a poster really became the foundation of my book. I really think that for many people, especially people of color, it's hard to fully understand that your mistakes and bad decisions do not define you, right? No matter who you are or what background you come from, if you can accept the decisions that you've made and learn to move past them, you can become better than your bad decisions.
Mhm. Now, and your role as mentor has only strengthened in the time since COVID. Tell me about your goals in continuing the music in these uncertain times.
Absolutely. During the pandemic, I've really had a lot of time to sort of reflect and truly discover what I am here on this earth to do. And what I've discovered is my goal is truly to enrich the lives of children through performing arts, teaching them discipline and giving them direction and purpose so that they can become skilled musicians, devoted scholars, and compassionate leaders. That's really my goal. I really consider myself a jack of all trades. I've worked so many different jobs. I've been in the classroom. I've done the mentor work. I've taught private lessons. I've worked in the most elite schools where it's $80,000 for 1 year. I've worked in the poorest of schools where the floorboards were coming up and there were mice infested in the school. And so I've seen so many different things around the country and dealt with so many different young people. This is where I truly think I am supposed to be. You know, I spent a lot of time running away from where I came from and running away from what I was really good at. And so it's just funny how life sort of brings you full circle. And I'm back home now in my hometown doing great work. So.
And you recently assumed the role of assistant conductor for the Boston's Children's Chorus, an organization that has very strong positive ties to community growth, and appreciation for diverse experiences, much like your own. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey with the Boston's Children's Chorus, how that's been going?
Absolutely. Well, I met Boston Children's Chorus almost about a year to the day. And we talked and everything seemed to be going well and I was going to be brought into the system and then COVID hit. So, talks really stopped with them for many, many months. And then towards the end of the summer, I got a phone call and they wanted to bring me on board and I was very, very happy to do so. When I first started with them, everything was completely virtual. They had acquired all the technology to have the pianist in real time for the kids to listen to, and we'd rehearse. The kids would be mute; they'd hear us singing. It was just a lot of innovative ways to sort of continue the choral music idea. When they brought me in, I started working with two of the choirs there, concert choir and YME, the Young Men's Ensemble. So right now I'm working with about 68 singers total. And I've also created, as an assistant conductor for them, but while I'm doing that, I also try to combine the work I'm doing with the Brockton Public School system where I live. And so I connected a few of these schools in the Brockton district with Boston Children's Chorus and started doing 2 virtual choirs with the city of Brockton in 2 of the schools out here. And so, I really try to combine all of my wonderful things happening to ensure that we are including everyone. And BCC is very, they work very hard to make sure that they are an inclusive organization, for sure.
And so you mentioned rehearsals and production. Boston's Children's Chorus recently had their annual MLK tribute concert that was created in a virtual atmosphere. Now, can you tell me a little bit about how that process went in organizing something that has been cherished by the community for so many years and continuing that in a time that is so stressful and uncertain?
Yeah. I was amazed by the way they put that entire concert together. Like I said, me being new to the organization, I don't get to see yet sort of what goes on behind the scenes and how they put all the things together. But just watching the process, rehearsing with the kids, listening to their recordings, sending them in, getting them back, working on them, sending them back in, chasing the kids around to get their recordings submitted, all the combining of the voices, and it was just an amazing, amazing effort from BCC. Just being a part of it this year, it was just an amazing thing for them to put together.
Absolutely. I was able to watch it myself actually, and I was just blown away immediately. And it was the starting so strong with that first music selection, and then continuing with that strength throughout the entire concert. Those children are unbelievably dedicated, and it I guess it will only be kind of just a reflection of their education that are encouraging them to continue keep that music going. So I'd like to also talk about your recent project. You are creating your own organization, the Rose Conservatory. If you could tell me a little bit more about that and how you are growing that organization now and your plans for the future for that.
Well, the Rose Conservatory came about, and of course, the Rose named after my mom, Rosanna. It's really a project that came together when I combined forces with a really good friend of mine, a childhood friend of mine, John Williams, who runs a mentor program in my city where he oversees about 7,000 kids in the district. And his mentor program is just an amazing thing. We ran a summer program last summer that was completely outdoors. Water stations outside, tents, porta potties, the whole nine. The kids were not allowed to go in the building. And so he reached out to me and asked if there was anything musical that I could contribute to the summer program. And that is when I said, yes, I know what we can do. I had a project with old tires that we could wash and turn into drums and really do something amazing with them. And so once we did that in the summer, we knew that we had something that we had to pursue. And so we just kept talking about, starting our own business and how could we capitalize on this, because we were working very closely with the Brockton Public School System. And so we really wanted to open a center that really showcased what we were doing and could really be a help to the community. So we sort of envisioned a center that had a music program, a mentor program, and basically a remote learning assistance program as well. So regarding the Rose Conservatory, really what I'd like to see is the Rose Conservatory. We believe in the power of music to transform the lives of children. We aspire to serve as a national model of mentorship, academic assistance, and a music-infused curriculum at the elementary, middle, and high school level. At the heart, it's like a heart that pumps and beats to infuse vitality into all the aspects of social growth and a sense of community. We aim to provide access to exceptional arts and education performance for the Brockton community, fostering creativity, artistic growth, and well-being for individuals of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities. We would like to aim to empower a diverse range of children as scholars, artists, and leaders through unique and rigorous academic remote learning assistance, mentorship, and music education.
Now, that music education is so important, especially now, because it shines a light on the creativity and the ingenuity of our youth. But it's also so important, and I'm so happy that you're able to also intersect that social and emotional growth, the importance of that for our community youth. So I'm so excited to see all of the wonderful things that the Rose Conservatory has coming in store for them. Now, Greg, I'd like for us to also just briefly discuss if you have any upcoming projects or events that the community can look forward to that you would be able to share right now.
Right now, we are very focused on getting the Rose Conservatory open. We're aiming for an April or May opening. We are still working very closely with many students in Brockton that are struggling with remote learning, and we're still, running our music programs. But we're really working hard. We signed a lease. We're really hoping. I know construction starts this week. To start our place, start building our rehearsal rooms and things like that. And so we don't have any main projects that we're really ready to promote at this time, but I would say the Rose Conservatory is our main focus. I am working very closely with the mayor of Brockton, the superintendent, many organizations around Brockton that would like to help contribute to the success of the Rose Conservatory. And so we have a lot of support from the community. And so right now, with schools going into a hybrid learning situation, everyone's focused on just being safe and opening up things the right way. And so it's very hard to have performances, especially since it's so very cold here. It was much easier in the summer to do outdoor events and outdoor concerts that we could safely be distanced and follow all the guidelines. But being so cold and getting, mountains of snow every other day, it's very hard to do things and have people in spaces. But with that said, that it's given us a lot of time to really get the behind the scenes work done, so that when things do open, we are ready to hit the ground running. And believe me, we are ready to get things running.
Mm-hmm. And where can we learn more about the Rose Conservatory? Is there a website?
Absolutely. Right now, you can check out my website, gregfernandes.com, for updates on what's going on with that. You can also follow me on Instagram at @gfernandes508. I'm always updating information on there about what's happening and giving people information. So you can definitely reach out to me those ways. On my website, there's an email me button on there that you can send me any questions or concerns, or anyone that would like to help donate. Rose Conservatory has actually just become an official nonprofit. So we are ready to start accepting help and grants and funds from anywhere and everywhere. And many people have already reached out and are ready to contribute. So we're happy about that. But, we just want to keep our foot on the gas pedal and keep things moving along,
Absolutely. Greg, thank you so much for this discussion. I am looking forward to hearing about all the wonderful things that you're going to be doing for the Boston Children's Chorus, for the Rose Conservatory, for the community at large. And thank you again for being positive and creative individual. We really need more people like you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I will definitely keep you updated as things move along. And I'm sure this will not be the last time we speak. So thank you again for reaching out to me. And it was amazing being here.
Yeah.
Special thanks to our donors and partners for their consistent support, to our phenomenal guest, Mr. Greg Fernandes, and to you, our listeners, for tuning in. The Houston Chamber Choirs with One Accord is your one-stop shop for choral joy. If you enjoyed this podcast, help us to continue our mission to grow the esteem and appreciation of choral music by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to our content. As a 501c3 nonprofit, support from listeners like you allows us to continue making new and exciting programming. For more information about us and how you can support our work, please visit HoustonChamberChoir.org/give.